Good morning, Bitcoins. Today is Sunday, October 8th, 2017, and we're live at Paralelní Polis for the HCPP, the Hackers Congress. We're joined by Paul Rosenberg, who's just about to make a speech. How's it going, Paul?
Oh, it's great. I love this place. I'm just having a gas.
So many fun people, so many interesting ideas. Yesterday we talked to Smuggler, a mysterious masked man. We had Eric Lombroso, Adam Back. And today we're looking to get Peter Todd, maybe Julia Toriansky, Amir, and now Paul. So Paul, what's your speech going to be about today?
Actually, I'm talking about CRISPR, which is a new way of genetic editing, and it is awesome. It is essentially hacking the genome. It works tremendously well. It can cure hundreds, thousands of genetic diseases, and it's cheap, it's easy, it's fast, it's stunning. You can't believe it's like science fiction, but you can't believe it's real, but it really is.
All right, so slow down a second. It's genetic editing. Is it for me while I'm alive, or is it for the next generation?
Both.
Both.
Now, it's much easier to do an embryo or a single cell than it is to do an entire living organism with billions of cells, but it can still be done. As a matter of fact, they just edited out HIV in living organisms.
Wow.
I think it was a pig, if I remember correctly.
Sure.
They also did it in mice. So this is a stunning technology.
So it's not just like a science fiction idea. You're actually editing it. You're taking the cells out, fixing them, putting the cells back in, something like that?
You don't have to take them out in many cases.
Okay.
You have to get all these things together. It's not simple.
Sure.
But it's cheap and it's easy. Well, the reason it's cheap is because the price of sequencing a genome has gone from $100 million to $1,000.
Wow.
I mean, it's way better than Moore's Law.
So they take maybe a blood sample from me, they scan my DNA, they make a map of what I have, they find something bad. What would they find that they could take out?
Oh gosh, muscular dystrophy, a gene that you know,
sure,
makes
MS.
you liable to muscular.
Yeah.
And this has been done in animals, not in humans. Now, there are difficulties with it. It's hard to get these things inside of a human cell. Human cells are very much more complicated than animal or plant cells. So there are certain difficulties to it, but it's unbelievable that it actually works. You can do all sorts of things with it. And it's cheap, relatively easy. You can do it. It's easiest to do it in a lab with cells in a plate or a petri dish.
Petri dish, yeah.
But it's doable in organisms as well. It's just it existed. We didn't know it existed for millions of years. They actually found it in bacteria. One of the key discoveries was in a Danish yogurt lab, of all things. And these guys are sequencing the genomes of bacteria because that's very important for making yogurt and things like that.
Sure.
Bacteria matter a lot to them.
Yeah.
And they kept saying, what is this thing we're seeing in here? These other things on the DNA. What is this?
Yeah.
And they called them CRISPR, which is a big, long scientific name. Let's see if I can do it. Clustered, randomly interspaced palindromic repeats. No one needs to remember that. Just say CRISPR.
Yeah.
But they began seeing this, and then they realized it had something to do with an immune function. And then they found out that it's a marking system on the side of DNA, and that there's other molecules, fantastically complicated proteins, that you can program to find an exact spot on a string of DNA. And we can do this. It's not hard. And then this protein will also cut that DNA if you wanted to. It's stunning, and it's been there the whole time, and we didn't know.
So do you have a company that's doing this right now?
No. I have too many other things that I do. I don't need another business.
Yeah.
But I'm a writer for one of the things that I do.
Great.
And so I'm looking at interesting things like this, and wow, this one got me.
Because of course my next question, and it's obviously a horror for me, but you're not starting an ICO, are you?
No, I'm not starting an ICO. Not at all. I run a professional level VPN called Crypto Hippie, and I write a newsletter called Free Man's Perspective.
Great. And so where are they working on this technology? Is there a certain country that's a hot spot? Is it becoming competitive yet? Because obviously everyone's going to want this. If you can edit out your diseases, if you can edit out your children's diseases. I mean, I know someone with MS. I mean, I don't know how far along, what scale they can help people at, early or late. Probably early is better.
Early is better. What's happening right now, there are labs all over the world working on this. Quite a few in the US, quite a few in China. China is really where the cutting edge stuff is going on now, because in the US people are terrified of
everything.
Of everything. But of the do-gooders who are going to say, no, no, this is dangerous. We can't have this sort of thing. We're going to have genetically modified children and
mutants.
Yeah, mutants, and those sorts of things. And look, eventually somebody is going to do something stupid with this. At someday, there's going to be some. I mean, anything.
Sure, any technology. A hammer is a great tool, but it's also a great weapon.
Right, it can kill a guy real easy.
Easy.
Yeah, so so in the U.S. they're a little bit afraid of the do-gooders.
Sure.
Coming down on them. China seems to be less so. I don't know China very well, but a lot of the things are going on there.
A lot of cutting-edge technology happens there. It's a large place. We don't even know the size. It's amazing.
It is. And these guys are working, and they do good work, and they've developed a lot of things. So one of the original patent holders is a Chinese gentleman. But there are patent battles going on now like crazy.
Sure.
But it's essentially a technology suited to small labs. You don't need $10 gazillion worth of equipment. It's easy, relatively easy to do. Some cases are harder, some are easier. But as a general rule, it's very easy and cheap.
So we're currently at the animal stage. About how many years do you think before we start human testing?
Oh, they've already done human. They've already edited human embryos.
Wow.
Successfully, I might add.
And brought them to term? Are there
no, they
babies?
Didn't bring them to term.
Not to term.
They didn't bring them to term. This was just experimental, but they let them go for however long. I'm not sure.
So many days. Verify the results,
and they verified the results, and the results were excellent.
Wow.
Yeah. So this stuff, like I said, I call it science fiction.
Yeah.
It's science fiction right now. It really does work, and it's affordable. It's accessible. It's stunning. There are biohackers working on cheap and easy and fast ways to eliminate HIV. And it's working.
So beyond curing diseases, I think the next step everyone goes to is, can we live forever? Is this going to work in with the immortality idea that is floating around out there now? That
would be nice, but living forever is a very complicated subject. It's not just a fix here and a fix there. It's a whole set of interlocking systems.
Sure.
And I would love for that to happen. CRISPR is certainly something that helps keep people healthy, will help keep people healthy longer. Maybe someday we can find some sort of gene to edit in to increase lifespan. I would like that, but I wouldn't want to overpromise.
Yeah, well, if there's a switch and they could just turn off aging, I'd be all for that.
Sign me up.
I mean, unfortunately, we'd have to stop at this point here, and I'd still probably be bald. They'd have to work on the hair thing next. Underneath the hat, we're very similar to Paul. But, hey, live long first, then we'll fix the hair thing.
Right, the hair thing is that can be fixed.
Yeah. Well, that's really amazing. So what kind of diseases would it work against? I mean, HIV, MS, heart disease?
Any genetic disease, yes.
Okay.
Any genetically based or influenced disease. Actually, there was just a breakthrough recently with a particular type of heart disease in the U.S. I don't recall all the details, but they had great success with it, and they edited it out. And the heart disease in the children, or I forget exactly how this experiment went. There's too many to keep track of.
Yeah.
But it worked.
Huh.
And they got rid of this particular form of heart disease. And there's hundreds, thousands of diseases like this that can all be addressed, some easier, some harder.
Well, this sounds great. There's a lot of genetic engineering that I've heard about where it's much more cosmetic. We'll change the baby's eye color, we'll make it brown hair, black hair, whatever. But this would actually help people, and I'm even more impressed that it could be used for already living people.
Yes. Now that's, like I say, that's a harder thing to do.
Sure.
And it may not work for everything right away, but it does work. And it's just a question of applying things until we can make it work much, much better.
Well, I can tell you who you should tell about it is Larry Ellison from Oracle, because I hear he wants to live forever and he's got the money to do it. Yes, so certainly get him involved, get some of these other singularity type guys, because obviously you're going to live forever. You got to get rid of the diseases first, you got to figure out the aging next, and then maybe we don't even have to live in a box like Spock's brain.
No, I don't think I would dig that.
Yeah, no. Not a lot of freedom when you live in a box.
Yeah, I'm not particularly interested in that.
Well, that sounds great. Thanks so much for being on the show. Paul, where can people learn more about CRISPR? Obviously, if they search, it's going to give them a lot of information about a refrigerator.
Right.
But beyond that, CRISPR DNA, something like that, what would be the search?
It's hard to say because if you go to the Wikipedia page, you get real heavy scientific terminology. And it's very hard to wade through it. I did devote one issue to my newsletter to it. It's a subscription letter. You have to pay for it. It's not expensive.
Where can they sign up for your newsletter?
freemansperspective.com, just the way it sounds, and you'll find one of the issues of the subscription letter was devoted to CRISPR, and we will have a special report on CRISPR pretty soon too.
All right, and you have your VPN at CryptoHippie. What's
CryptoHippie.com. CryptoHippie. Well,
thanks, Paul. Thanks so much for being on the show. I know you got to go. You got to make your presentation. Yeah. And of course, Paul's presentation will be live streamed later when they release it on the HCPP Paralelní Polis YouTube at some point in the future. So if you want to learn more about Paul and CRISPR and the ability to edit our DNA, check it out. Thanks so much, Paul.
Oh, thank you.
Just clap Paul out. And we have our next guest. Oh, you can do it now. We're live now. All right, we've got Tone Vase.
No,
our next guest doesn't want to come on.
Here. No, I thought he was going to come on, but we're going to get...
we have a camera, we have an audience, but you know, people don't understand live television is actually live, right? So.
Oh, and there he is.
All right, next guest, come on down.
Hi guys.
Hey.
Hi.
How's it going? I'm Tom.
I'm Bach.
Tone.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Oh. And of course,
Slush.
We have Slush.
That's why we got the big couch.
You guys have to share this, but get it really close to your mouth.
Yep.
Oh, look at that. That looks familiar.
Oh, yeah. Fellow Watch Brothers.
Can they see that? Got the same exact one, too. Cool. There you go.
Well, very cool. So why don't you guys introduce yourselves and tell us about your projects?
Yeah.
All the way in.
Perfect.
Yeah, really got it. Yeah.
So I'm Slush, and I'm founder of the first Bitcoin mining pool, Slush Pool, back in 2010. And later in 2013, I helped found the first hardware wallet called Trezor.
And my name is Bach, and I work with Slush in Trezor. I'm the community manager and work with PR and marketing.
Very cool. So great to have both of you here, especially since you founded Trezor and you founded Slush Pool. We talked to the current CEO of Slush Pool yesterday. He told us all about how it's a mining pool and how miners share their resources and mine together to then share the reward. So that's very cool. Is there anything you guys have planned for the future? Is there anything new coming up with Slush Pool?
Yeah, of course, we have some internal projects, but it's not public yet, so sorry.
Secret information, we can't get that out yet. So how about Trezor? Do you have anything new happening with Trezor?
We actually have the new Trezor device, the Trezor 2, coming out really soon. Hopefully it's going to be available at the end of this year already.
All right, and what kind of new features are on the Trezor 2?
Yeah, there are two kind of new features. One is like physical changes. So now we heard the feedback of our users, and we added a bigger, colorful touchscreen.
Sure.
So
touchscreen, fantastic.
Yeah. So it will be much easier to interact with the hardware, and also we added a micro SD slot, which will be it won't be used on the beginning. The firmware doesn't use the slot anyhow still, but in the near future we have big plans with the storage directly in Trezor, encrypted storage.
Excellent. So I know Trezor was one of the first hardware wallets to have a little screen, which was really important because you could develop the seed offline. The Ledger always had a bit of a legacy system there on the early Ledger. They do have one with a screen now. But that's been really good to store Bitcoin in, and now Ethereum and other altcoins. What other coins does Trezor store?
Yeah, back to the screen. One of the biggest advantage of the bigger screen is that it will be possible to enter the PIN directly on the device, and also do full seed recovery directly on the device without leaking any information, any private information on to the computer. So this is a big advantage compared to the first version. And the question about the coins. The second advantage of the new Trezor is the software stack, which is not visible from the first look, but we completely reworked the way how Trezor works internally, and we think about Trezor as a not about as a product, but as a platform.
Yeah.
And we are working on the stack, on the framework, which will be more open for third-party developers to develop any new coins, or support for new coins, or even not crypto use cases for Trezor on their own. So of course we still have some main development, like adding new coins. So far we are working, for example, on Monero right now. But as the cryptocurrency space is growing bigger and bigger, we are unable to catch with every new project. So we hope that in the near future we will have the independent community, like independent developers, will be able to produce applications and firmwares directly for the Trezor itself.
Certainly, we've talked a lot about the Bcash hard fork and how that was a socialized cost for exchanges. All the exchanges, especially Trezor and Ledger, the other hardware wallets, had to really hustle to get that out to their users. They had to test it, they had to prepare it, they had to release it. Everyone wanted it right away. Some sold early, some sold in the middle, some sold later. But what's your stance on hard forks going forward? If we keep having these splits, obviously we have the potential 2x split, we have got the BitGold coming up.
Of course, all these forks are huge costs for us. And for example, because of the Bitcoin Cash, where we had some problems with implementing it, we had to postpone other development, which I see as more important than adding some minor altcoin. So these are direct impacts of the fork wars. And myself, I'm kind of Bitcoin maximalist, but
in a welcome company here. Yeah, we get that a lot. They say it's an insult, but I just say, oh, we're going to be right in the future, and you're going to be wrong. So,
but of course, as a Trezor as a product is trying to be as much neutral, and I'm trying to hide my own preferences on don't impact the product itself. So of course, in similar way as we supported Bitcoin Cash from day 2, to be honest, it wasn't since day 1, but since day 2. We will try to support any other forks, some more significant forks, because we want our users to be to freely use the
Well, sure. If you're storing your coins in Trezor and you want your free money, they're going to come asking even if you don't want to give it. So it's definitely going to be an outlay of developer time. And like you said, you can't really advertise it. It's not really a new feature to the product. Like, we're going to support a future fork that we don't know about yet. And yet at the same time, as soon as it happens, they're going to want their money. Bach, more to add?
I just want to add that a lot of users are asking about a stance, an official stance right now, and we still haven't released one because a lot of things can change, because it's going to happen at the end of this month. We're still at the beginning of October. A lot of things can change until then, with implementation of 2x, with replay protection, if it's going to exist or not. So we would like to ask our users to wait a little bit, give us a little bit more time to clear out our stance.
I did see a Coinbase announcement this morning. Coinbase isn't even sure how they're going to name the two coins, which I find terrifying. Bitcoin.com, of course everyone knows, owned by Roger Ver, he came out on GitHub and he said, at least in his opinion, he's going to list the 2x coin as Bitcoin with the ticker symbol BTC. Which would be a horrible confusion and I think open them up to a lot of potential legal liability, as that might not be the actuality. Yeah.
Generally, we would like to have for any new forks, we suppose that every serious fork should have its own replay protection and change the address format, because a lot of people underestimate issues and problems with people sending coins cross chains.
That's been a big problem with Bcash, because Bcash has the same address format as Bitcoin. They could have changed the beginning. I mean, Litecoin had it originally, but they changed it to L or something on the front. Yeah, it really seems like a responsibility to developers to have replay protection and then to have a different address format, so we don't have this nightmare where users send their money to the wrong address, they get confused, then developers have to essentially waste their time, right, to unravel those addresses. Sometimes it's worth it. You sent several thousand, sometimes it's $10. It's not that worth it, but.
So in the end, I am really happy that Bitcoin Cash added replay protection a few days before the launch.
Yep.
And in the same way, it was not definitive answer, or we didn't have a definitive answer since the launch, if it will be here or not. And I see a similar problem with the 2x. If they will launch without replay protection, it will be a real mess for the customers and for us as well.
And going forward with politics, did Slushpool or Trezor, did they sign the 2x agreement, the New York agreements? Were you involved in that at all?
We have been asked, but I declined because the paper was like a political stance, or how to say, and I understood that there are many ways how this can be interpreted. So as a programmer myself, I declined to sign something which can be misused, basically. Yeah.
And obviously you're an early Bitcoiner, so why don't you go ahead and make the audience cry and tell them how early you got into Bitcoin and how did you hear about it to start with?
I started in Bitcoin in 2010. I heard about Bitcoin first time in April from Zuko. Because of my I was following his projects about
Giacomo Zuko or the Zcash Zuko?
ZK Zuko.
Okay.
Yeah. And I became active in October 2010.
Wow, that's fantastic.
All
and
right,
then
so,
go ahead, Tom.
No, I was gonna say, so when you hear about Bitcoin from people like Zuko that were in it before you, why do you think these people are now trying to create a better version of Bitcoin, destroying all the value that you have and everything you've done up to that point, right? Because if Zcash succeeds, if Bitcoin fails, and I know my life savings go to zero. So why would those people all of a sudden hate Bitcoin and want to do something that would actually be its competitor?
Well, Zcash is one of the coins where I don't have a problem with its existence, because they are trying to add some new features directly to the blockchain, which is not easy to add to the Bitcoin, which I see as a conservative way of running blockchain. So I'm not too much into altcoins myself, but to be honest, Zcash is one of the interesting project for me. So I'm not afraid that Zcash will ruin Bitcoin in any way. I think it can coexist without any problem, as a crypto space is expanding faster than anything else on the earth.
Well, right, and I'm generally critical. I'm not as critical of altcoins as I am of ICOs, but Sticking with being critical of altcoins, since Trezor did add altcoin storage as well, the way I see it now is people always, cheerlead Bitcoin with it's only 21 million Bitcoin. I mean, you can't have these governments just printing money and creating money out of thin air. Bitcoin only has 21 million. Yeah. But does Bitcoin really has 21 million? If you have 100 altcoins, people believe would be viable in the future. So isn't the crypto space inflating even faster than the fiat system if you're a believer that altcoins have a reason for existence?
Yeah, there's still be just 21 million bitcoins. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I can happily ignore any other altcoin in the space, and my bitcoins are not affected.
I completely agree. And then, how do you feel about ICOs?
Well, depends. And I think that most of them are scams, but generally it may be a more modern way of crowdfunding if there is some real project behind it. So generally, I think most of them are scams, mm-hmm. but there are some exceptions.
And then to go back into your history, how did you raise funds originally for the Trezor idea, for the slush pool idea? Did you just kind of start out, or maybe your early Bitcoiner is already ready, but just curious about that.
Yeah. Originally, we tried to go over Kickstarter, mm-hmm. to get some awareness about the product and to get some marketing for free, basically.
Sure.
And in the end, we have found that the Kickstarter is not really happy about any Bitcoin project. They didn't tell it directly. Mm-hmm. They were postponing the project and please add this and that. Then we were waiting like 2-3 weeks to any response. So we decided to stop the effort, right. And go with Bitcoin crowdfunding. So we did some pre-sale, not with tokens.
Yeah, no tokens. Yeah.
Just the pre-order, and we marketed it over Bitcoin Talk and mm-hmm. all these alt platforms and so on.
Sure.
And it worked basically.
And you were able to make the Trezor devices and then send them out, and then everyone was happy, right?
Yes. Yeah. Originally, we set it in a Bitcoin. We quote the Trezor for 1 Bitcoin, which was a
good deal. Yeah.
These days it was around $100.
Oh.
It was in 2013, if I remember well, mm-hmm. and then the price started to climbing up.
Sure.
The Mt. Gox went crazy, mm-hmm. and so people were talking. Okay, we don't think the $1,000 for Trezor is okay.
I remember that.
Yeah. So after a long of discussions, we have changed the pricing in a fiat, mm-hmm. but we are afraid to don't scam the original customers who paid one Bitcoin. But in the end, most of them understood. So
sure.
so we can't bind it to Bitcoin forever.
Well, and I know from my own experience, it's a great device. I've got my Bitcoin on there. It's hidden somewhere. The other half is hidden somewhere else. And it's really great. I always encourage people at home to hold their own keys. And that's why we're so happy to have CryptoHWWallet.com as our sponsor for this conference, because it's just such a simple idea to promote to people. Like, you should be your own bank. You should hold your own keys, have a Trezor or a Ledger or any of the other hardware wallet devices. And it's just so much safer and so much more of what Bitcoin's actually about. People are excited about ETFs, and I'm excited about the potential of people having their retirement funds in Bitcoin. But at the same time, it's just another middleman. It's another third party. And if something goes wrong, they could take all your Bitcoins. Whereas if you have your own security and your physical security, we've been doing for hundreds of thousands of years with bank vaults and safe deposit boxes, and even just obscurity. Yeah. If you hide it in somewhere no one will find it, no one will find it. And you can do that on your own with a Trezor wallet. And you guys are also a sponsor of this conference, so we wanted to thank you. You're a local Czech company, and we just want to promote that idea and thank you for sponsoring the conference as well. Tone, do you have any more questions, or do you have any more things to announce?
No, that's it. You guys feel free to announce. When is the next generation Trezor might be out? Any
Even a time
ETA?
frame was good. Yeah.
We will launch pre-order for the first batch pretty soon, and the plan for the deliveries in this year, so in few months.
Very cool. And then we want to, of course, give you something from our sponsor. We have these little cryptohwwallet.com. These are Trezor leather cases. It's a genuine leather. We got a brown one and a black one. If you prefer a different color, you can check it out. But it comes in a little dust-free case.
Do you have one of those yet?
I already have one. I have more Trezors.
More Trezors, yeah.
Plenty
and
of
you can just, put them right in there. It's like,
I think it could fit in right.
Oh, wow.
yeah, put it right in right now.
Test it right now.
See, that's a good company man. He's got the product right with him right there. So let's see how it fits. Oh, fits perfectly. And there it is, the finished project, a Trezor in a case. So thanks so much, guys, for being on the show, and we look forward to the Trezor 2.0. And Joseph, do you want to come in? Or?
Oh, yeah. Well, let them say you can use it.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
There you go.
I was just gonna add that thank you guys for having us here, and thank you for coming to Prague. I hope that you enjoyed the conference as much as we did.
It's been great, and we hope to come back again next year because it's just been a really fun event. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Joseph?
Thank you for all the audiences with WCN. Obviously, Trezor, our best supplier for wallets. Oh, am I not able to see you?
Where's the other people?
Just a few added words that we still had a coupon for the leather cases that's going on ending today. That's WCN 20 off.
Yep.
So if you guys want to order this leather case, it's still available. The coupon will still be valid till midnight, the 8th, the cutoff. That's only for Trezor because this is a Trezor event. And it's really a pleasure meeting you guys. Thank you. And you guys actually have made a tremendous amount of contribution to the community. And I'm sure everybody, we have a lot of customers that really love your products. There's absolutely no negative comments about it. So we're expecting to find the Trezor too. I hope I can get one soon.
Yeah.
So we can make a Trezor leather case for the Trezor.
Definitely have to make a new leather case and have the new touchscreen. That sounds really good.
Exactly. So guys out there, keep your crypto safe by having a Trezor, a must tool that you need to have in order to keep your crypto. Peace of mind. Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much for being on the show, guys.
Thank you.
All right, and now they're leaving me alone to Phil, which is my favorite part of the show, because I can just say whatever I want now. Anyone in the chat have any questions about the conference? I have heard a partial confirmation, though I won't believe it till I see it for myself, that Litecoin graffiti on the mural may be real. I'm going to have to go out there. I'm going to spend a couple days in Prague. I'll be sure to walk by the mural again, but it does sound like, for reasons I can't explain, the Litecoin people have graffitied the mural. So I don't know why they do that. It's embarrassing to me. It's embarrassing to Litecoin. I think it's embarrassing to Charlie Lee too. It's a beautiful Bitcoin mural. And it's a shame that they would graffiti it. But it looks like we have our new guest and Tone's back. So we go have another round of applause. And we're joined by Eric Martindale. Make sure to hold the microphone up to your mouth, almost eat it, and talk nice and loud because you need to compete with me, and I'm very loud. So Eric, how's it going?
Fantastic.
Go ahead.
Amazing Hackers Congress.
It's been great, and we know each other from San Francisco. You used to work at Blockstream.
Yeah.
But I understand you've got a new project going on now, so why don't you just tell the people at home what you're working on?
Yeah, sure. So for the past 4 years, really, I've been working on a protocol called Fabric. And what we're doing is we're trying to build the next web. We're replacing the web. And we're doing it in a peer-to-peer fashion. We're basically using zero-knowledge contingent payments to develop an information market. So you basically broadcast an order for computation, and those who are able to complete the computation are able to claim the payment that's assigned to the order.
So you told me last night you're working on a live streaming type part of it, something to do with YouTube. Explain that to me. How could a content creator use your product?
Yeah, so one of the cool things about crypto in general is you can sign a piece of information and have it attributed to a particular public key. So in this way, you can strongly attribute content publishing. You can publish, say, a document, a hypertext document. You could publish an image. You could even publish an entire video, sign that, and now you say, hey, look, I broadcast this. This was the input. Now I can verify exactly who produced a particular piece of content over time. So streaming is something that's really exciting. We had a really good run back when Google Plus was still a thing. Google Hangouts was actually really exciting because you could meet people from all over the world and chat. And this turned into Hangouts on Air. And this idea that you could have a show online and really easily, broadcast to a larger audience. It just kind of begs for a fair model for people who are producing content to receive direct compensation for the value that they've produced.
So this new update would be kind of like a cryptographically verifiable signature that I made the video, so you should donate to me. Because I know Tone had a lot of impersonation problems recently. They had a Proton Mail account that was similar to his. They disguised themselves in our YouTube comments as Tone, and then they tried to take money that rightfully should go to Tone, take it to them. So this system would help prevent that?
Yeah, actually it's a direct payment. So when you consume the content, you're actually making a direct payment in exchange to the actual original content author. So it's a way of sort of enforcing that when you publish content and it gets traded on the network, that you get the piece of the revenue that you're expecting.
Well, that sounds really interesting. Tone, do you have any questions?
Well, so how are you financing this operation?
Oh, now the ICO. Everyone drink.
Well, we haven't said it yet, but look, we've been bootstrapping this for the past 4 years. Software development is something that you invest your time in because you want to build something really, really meaningful. So before we even get to the conversation of some sort of like token sale, we want to build a product first. So figuring out exactly, okay, what is the product that we want to build? What's the thing that's going to gain the traction? So we want to generate a user base first before we even start having the conversation around, okay, do we want to pool in, millions and millions of dollars on this immediately, or do we want to build something that's sustainable, that maybe can survive on its own, instead of just dumping capital on it and expecting it to solve a problem?
How many developers do you have working on it right now?
Primarily, actually, up until this point, it has been myself and about 3 or 4 other guys. We've been spread out across the past 2.5 years in terms of the actual implementation. But we have a community of about 350 people in our Slack right now that have been interested in various projects using this technology. But really, the core contributors is a small group because it's in an early prototype phase.
And are you focusing on video chat? Or, I mean, the idea of decentralizing the internet is like, I don't even know where to begin that discussion, right? So which part of the internet do you focus on for your initial batch of users? Because it needs to be fairly niche to try and start off with the niche thing and then branch out. So are you focusing on video, websites? What's the initial hook?
Yeah, so video is actually, there's a lot of data in video. You can imagine, transmitting an image alone is a lot of data. It's more data than just text. But then to transmit 30 frames per second, right, or 60 frames per second if you want really high quality video.
Like The Hobbit.
Even so, isn't there like a surreal, bizarre feeling because people aren't used to even that high frame rate yet?
It's too fast. Even HD is a big problem. All the actors, you can see their lines, they age horribly.
Yeah, and look, man, I get loading bars on YouTube all the time. So look, if YouTube can't solve this problem using a centralized model, look, what we want to focus on at first is a simple exchange of text, right? Let's trade documents in the same way that the World Wide Web started. Let's start with hypertext documents, understand relationships between things. It's much smaller, it's a much easier problem to tackle, and it's a niche market. Say you build a product, a simple publishing tool that might be limited to a certain number of characters. That's a very simple set of features that you can, frankly, I think a lot of people are getting upset and pissed off at censorship and manipulation and the control that these platforms have when you publish information there. So I think there's a huge opportunity to build just this very simple publishing tool that allows people to interact with one another and then trade the information and the data that they produce.
I'm just upset that they doubled the number of characters for seemingly no reason. No 280.
God, man, look. 140 characters is already too much for me. Frankly,
need to be shorter.
Yeah, shrink the actual number, frankly. Bring it down to like 70 or something like that. And then maybe the thoughts will be more succinct and understandable.
That's what I loved about the old Twitter feed. It was nice and quick to read. The new one, I'm actually reading half of a tweet and stopping, especially even Vitalik today lectured poor Craig Wright, the fake Satoshi, and he said, "You are a living, breathing example for the No 280 movement. Your tweets are too long and no one wants to read them."
Yeah, it's a signal to noise ratio, right? It's already a problem. We don't need to make it worse.
And we did have a clarifying question of the audience. They asked, what does the term bootstrapping mean? And I think it goes back to Horatio Alger, who used to say you could pull yourself up by your bootstraps. So it basically means you're working for your own company, you're funding your own company, you're supporting your own ideas. You agree with that?
Exactly right. Rather than raising external capital, it's building the value and building the capital yourself. And it also applies to the principle of dog fooding, for example.
You have to eat your own dog food.
Yeah, you want to make sure that you're building something that's useful, that actually solves a real problem, right? So people will use it, and it's not just a great idea that everybody kind of wants, but nobody uses because it doesn't actually solve a problem.
All right, and where?
Well, before we get going, I heard a rumor that you made a bet that you would shave this beard if the price hit what, 4,500 or 5,000?
No. Okay, so look, last year at Money 2020, I predict that we were asked on a panel what the price of Bitcoin would be this year at Money 2020, and my number was 6,000. I think at the time the price was around $500 or $600.
Wow,
and I said
that was pretty generous.
Well, we still got a ways to go, right? We had the surge.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying you did better. I mean, I only had it at like 2,000, 2,500 this summer.
He had to be defensive. He really likes the beard.
That's right. I gotta protect the crypto wisdom, right?
So you're supposed to shave it if your target is beaten?
If I don't make it, I'll shave the beard.
If it doesn't get to 6,000.
So I'm reasonably confident.
So you've been manipulating the price up to get the beard going.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty optimistic. I'm very pleased with the support that was offered when we did the pullback from the big surge. We saw a lot of resistance down there, and I think that even though all of this noise in the markets, China, the ICO craze, look, Bitcoin is very resilient at this point.
I was looking the other way. I was thinking maybe there's a fund we could donate to get you to shave the beard.
Is it that bad?
Well, we'll see. We'll have to see how the competition turns out.
There's a fund going for me to shave my hair.
Oh, come on, no time.
They even got extra if I get a Bitcoin tattoo on it afterwards.
I'll fund that.
So Eric,
do some kind of pre-sale related to your beard. Sorry, guys, I gotta go. And I want to thank everyone for watching, and I want to thank Eric, Tone, Thomas, everyone in the studio audience, sponsor, and
CryptoHWWallet.com.
Put your comments below, share, retweet, and subscribe. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Theo, for being on the show. It's great to hang with you again, man.
We got 2 more minutes with Eric. And
so, Eric, where can people learn more about Fabric? Is it open source? Can developers join now, or what are you looking for next?
Yeah, we're actually, so what we're looking for, we're at nextweb.com. This is where we're compiling all of our information. We'll be releasing more soon. About 2 years ago, we published an original version of the white paper on GitHub. The concepts are still sound, but we're about to unveil a much larger documentation site that contains a full technical specification. And so now what we're looking for is people that want to build really cool things, but aren't quite sure how to do it in a decentralized fashion.
All right, thanks Eric for being on the show. And I miss Theo already, he's gone. But we're getting ready to live stream Peter Todd's presentation. We're gonna bring that to you live from the other room. So we've gotta take this stream down, get that stream up. It's all happening here at Paralelní Polis. And one more thing, most of the guests on the show today get a Crypto HW wallet, a leather case for your Trezor. Do you have a Trezor?
Of course, I have multiple Trezors.
Everyone seems to have a Trezor. It's so amazing. So you have to make the big choice of brown or black.
Oh man, I got to go with the black, man.
And these are genuine leather. It smells good. You can scratch it, and it'll keep your leather Trezor safe. So
perfect.
Thanks so much, Eric, for being on the show. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Like I said, we got Peter Todd. After that, we'll be back with some more live interviews. We hope to get Julia Taransky, maybe Amir Taki, and maybe even Peter Todd. who just might be my brother. But that's just a rumor we're starting. So thanks so much for joining us. Give us a thumbs up and a share if it's your first time here. Subscribe down below, and we'll be back soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.